Something could happen on this show. You never can tell.
Hi, everybody. Pam. Hi, everybody. Pam here from the Rock and Roll Show. Oh my God.
You should just submit this. And say, that's it.
All right,
we're done.
Brought to you
Just say brought to you by Beverly Records.
Brought to you by Beverly Records. And I've got Jack and John Dresnes here, the owners of Beverly Records, with us today. And I am so thrilled to have you guys as a sponsor of this week's show. And not only the sponsor of this week's show, but our newest sponsors. And we are so thrilled to have you.
Yeah, we're happy that we could do it because this is a worthwhile project. And I'd love to see it when it's done because it looks amazing.
Thank you. So what prompted you to become a sponsor for the Dick Biondi film?
You?
Really?
Yes.
You're kidding.
No, I mean, you do so much and you're so involved and you're so dedicated.
Thank you.
It's the least we could do.
Oh, wow, that is so...
And get this done.
That's terrific. Thank you so much. But you're obviously Dick Biondi fans.
Oh, yeah. Grew up with Dick, and I was thrilled the first time he called the store, and he needed a record to play for one of the fans that had requested it, his listener. And he would often call me and say, Jack, do you know this song they're talking about? I said, yeah, I know that one. I said, do you have it? I said, yes. He said, well, how can you get it to me? I said, well, in the early days, we'd just send him a tape. And later we got it. He didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know much about it, but Johnny helped me put it onto the internet with the streaming, and we emailed it to him and got it done. But that's the kind of guy he was and is. He was so dedicated, he'd go out of his way to help somebody listen to a song, find out something about a song, and I was so
sounds like
inspired
Dick.
by him. Yeah,
He's
him.
an unbelievable guy.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much. We love you for this. We can't thank you enough. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you.
I'd love it.
Right.
Thank
Keep
you,
up the
Pam.
great work.
Yep.
Thank you.
Go, Dick. Hi, Dick, if you're listening.
Right.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Pam here from the Rock and Roll Show with Pam and Joe. And, of course, I'm Pam. And
I'm Joe Farina. Thank you, Pam. It's great to be with everybody. Before we introduce our next guest, please go to dickbiondifilm.com, like our Facebook page, and also join our Facebook group. It is our pleasure to introduce to you our next guest, award-winning actor, Chicago native, all-around terrific guy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Joe Mantegna. Joe, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
No, my pleasure. Great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Boy, it's been a while since you and I have touched base, and I just, if I may say so, and I hope this doesn't put you on the spot by any means, but I just know how deep of a friendship you and my dad had, and I remember meeting you when I was a little kid, a long time ago, in the early '80s, when you and my dad were making your waves through the Chicago theater scene, and you've always been a really stand-up guy, a great guy, not only to my dad, but every time I've reached out to you and spoke with you, and you've just been a really stand-up class act.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you. You didn't put me on you put me on a spot I like to be, and that's standing next to your dad. I mean, because I loved your father very much, and he's there was that billboard. I'm sure you remember. It was over on the Kennedy Expressway with him and I and Dennis Franz, right there off of the Ohio Street exit. I think we were about 30 feet tall, each of us in the billboard. for Biggs Green Crothers back in the day. And that photo is so, all of us have it. You know, Dennis has a version hanging in his office. I have one hanging in mine. You know, and it summed up our friendship, especially the three of us. And I think of your dad often. And anyway, it's a pleasure to know you. And you know, it's the whole Chicago thing. What can I say?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joe. And I do remember that billboard, and it's an iconic. It's an iconic billboard. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It seems like yesterday that.
Yeah, exactly.
That it was up
my
there.
hair was a little darker then, but otherwise.
I like the gray hair. I like the gray hair. And speaking of Chicago, if I remember correctly, before you got into acting, that you were a musician. You were in a few bands before you got into acting. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much one band. It was the band was called the Apocryphals. The Reader, Chicago Reader, did a very nice thing on it. Maybe it was about a year ago now, or less than that actually.
Okay.
They did a whole thing on Chicago bands. So we were fairly popular at the time. I mean, we existed from about 1966 to about I can tell you exactly until 69, because then I got cast. That was my first professional job as an actor. I got cast in the play Hair in Chicago at the Civic Theater. And it was at that time I realized I just can't do both. You're doing 8 shows a week with a Broadway type musical. You can't also be in a band. But so the writing was on the wall. I think we were a very popular band. We did well, but we were a cover band. We weren't doing a lot of original music. We made a few records, but we were very close to some bands that became successful. Like we played a lot with a group called the Missing Links, who ultimately decided to change their name to Chicago Transit Authority, and ultimately Chicago. I'm still very close to all of those guys, but back then I could see where they were going with their music, and they wanted to write their own stuff and create. And Ides of March was another band I was very close to. I went to Morton East High School in Cicero, and Jim Pederek and all the guys in that band went to Morton West High School in Berwyn. They were a little younger than us, but they used to come see us playing battles of the band and go, "Man, we like you. We want to do that someday." And we said, "Kid, keep at it," you know. Next thing you know, they did very well.
We had Jim on last week.
Oh, you did? So yeah. Jim, I mean, we still stay very close in touch, and in fact, we one of our records we cut, we let him come in and play tambourine on it.
Ooh,
he was still in high school, wow. You know, and he was just like, wow, I get to play tambourine on the Apocryphals. You know, well, he kind of took off and did
just
very
a little.
well. Yeah. But anyway. But yeah, I did. I was in a band, and music was a big part of it back in the '60s, late '60s, and it was a great experience, a lot of fun.
Oh, that's terrific! And there's something unique about the Chicago theater, entertainment, music community, and that's just something. You know, whenever I spent time with my dad, and we met, you know, producers, directors, actors from the Chicago area, even when they went on and had huge Hollywood success, somebody like yourself and my dad and so forth. But there was just something unique about that Chicago community. And does that make sense? And if it does, what is it about that community that makes it so
well? I think
unique?
It's what's unique about Chicago, what's unique about the Midwest in general, I think first of all, because we were in the Midwest, we were kind of like, and you know, just right from the beginning, we're referred to as the second city. You know what I mean, Chicago. And I never took that as an insult necessarily, because it was like sometimes it's nice to be in second place or not get all the focus. So there's like New York was, you know, hugely known, obviously, especially for theater and all that, and Broadway, and in Los Angeles, it's movies and television and all that. So in Chicago, for whatever it was music or theater or film and television, in order to succeed, it wasn't because you were doing it because it was such an industry there. It was because you just wanted to do it, because you liked it, because this is what you had to do. And so I think it kind of grounded you in a way to be in the Midwest, because it wasn't like I said, it wasn't like it wasn't an industry town where, oh, if I make it here, that means it's not like the song. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. Not necessarily true, maybe today, but not then. And so I think it's that. I used to explain when people like from foreign countries would ask me, what is it about Chicago? What's Chicago like compared to the rest of the United States? And I would often say Chicago is like the Canada of the United States. We're a little more like Canadians in the sense that we take you on face value, and we're just pretty friendly, regular people who just not a lot of pretense, and what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what's created the community of what you're talking about. We shared that kind of thing of like, we all kind of loved what we did, and it didn't matter ultimately what the outcome was going to be. For some of us, it turned out obviously very, very well, and it was great. But we did it. When we started out, we did it in these small little theaters, and wherever they happened to be. Like your dad, when he started out, come on, he was a copper for 18 years, and then started doing little plays and things. I directed him in one, Bleacher Bums.
Oh, yes, I remember that very well.
Sure. And so so we all started with those similar kinds of backgrounds that were like, yeah, we'll give this a shot, give this a whirl. But it wasn't. We didn't necessarily have stars in our eyes, but sometimes it worked out that way. And so I think that's a common thing. I think in the Midwest period. I think whether it's Chicago, whether it's from Nebraska or Iowa, or there's a shared thing that way.
Before you had mentioned doing the musical Hair, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that experience, and just knowing the popularity of such a musical. What was that like for you? Because you came from, you were doing some music prior to that, and
Right.
going to do a musical like Hair. What was that like? What was that experience like for you?
Well, it was, for me to be able to say I started my career doing that is pretty special for me. And ironically, my wife, who we've been together now 51 years.
Oh, terrific.
That's where her and I
That's
got
great.
together. No, she's not here right now. She's out with my two daughters. But she was in that cast too, and we both came from the same high school. We both came from, I came from Morton East High School in Cicero. She went to Morton West High School in Berwyn. But we did plays together in high school. We weren't a couple then, but we knew each other because we'd done district-wide plays. So we both auditioned for this play Hair. Thousands and thousands of young people auditioned for it. And we get down to that last day, that last callback after maybe 5-6 callbacks in Chicago. And there was, out of maybe 5,000 people trying out, there was like maybe 50 of us on the stage at the Schubert doing the final audition. Wow. And finally they picked that last like 20, I think it was some 28 people, the final cast. And then of course she gets picked, I get picked. We look at each other and say, hey, I know you. We got together. But doing that play, it was a great experience. I was a student at the Goodman School of Drama during that time. I just finished my second year. I was about to do my third and final year. And it was during that summer when I auditioned for the play, because I thought, well, why not? I've done musicals in high school, junior college. I was in a band. That was, I had an interest in that. So when I finally got cast, I remember going to the dean of the school because I had a scholarship for the coming year and all that. And I was a little kind of torn. What do I do? And I said to him, I said, look, I got cast in this musical, Hair. It's coming to Chicago. What do you think? And I thank God for his wisdom in that, because what he said to me, he says, look, this is acting school. You came here to try to be an actor. You just got a job. He said, I guess, that's what you came here to try to do. I think, go ahead, do it. You're going to miss out on the third year. You'll be all right.
Oh.
And so with his blessing, I did great. I felt good about it then. So it was an incredible time to do that play, especially that you got to remember the Vietnam War was going on. I remember one performance one night. We actually, at the beginning of the show, we on stage we asked the audience to all hold hands, and we lit matches or candle or something, because that was the day that those young people had been killed at Kent State University. Guard. This was the turmoil that was obviously going on in the country. And so here you're doing a play that deals with that whole thing. So it was quite an experience, and I'm glad that was how I was able to start my career, because it was a kind of a nice. I mean, it was intense. I mean, I wound up doing it for about a year and a half, 8 shows a week. So it was like being thrown right into the teeth of show business at its highest level. You know, it wasn't like I started at a little tiny thing. It was like a pretty big deal. So it was a good way to start. And I wound up right after that, shortly after that, I did play Godspell in Chicago at the Studebaker Theater, also downtown, another musical, to where I kind of thought that might be my ticket. I'm going to be with that kind of guy, a musical comedy guy. But due to circumstances, paths open up and you go other ways, and other opportunities happen.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I want to direct it to Pam, who has a question or two for Joe. Pam, go ahead.
Yeah. Joe, this is so great to get to hear your story, you know, how it happened for you. And I know you won a Tony for the Glengarry Ross. Was that the name of it?
Glenn Ross, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit? What that was like?
Well, sure. That was, as you can imagine, you know, as a student, like I said at the Goodman, you know, watching the Tony Awards if you're an acting student, watching the Tony Awards is it's like watching the Oscars or anything else.
Sure.
What you want to do for a living, and you're seeing these people getting these awards, and go, wow, look at that. Wouldn't that be cool? I wonder what that's like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to think that I watch that show every year. So now you cut to 1984, where now I'm in New York because of now David Mamet. I built a relationship with him in Chicago, doing some plays with him and things like that. He was a struggling playwright at the time. Here he's got this new play, asks me to be a part of it because of our history together. We go to Broadway. We do this play, and next thing I know, the show wins the Pulitzer Prize. I win the Tony Award. And the next thing I know, I'm one of those guys. I'm up on stage holding this little trophy.
Oh my gosh!
Unreal.
And I remember as I came off, you know, there was usually always a little party afterwards, and we're there, and members of the press, of course, are interviewing you. And I can remember this is 1984, and I'd done my first professional play, 69, in here in Chicago. So it's been 15 years. I've been working now at the Organic Theater in Chicago, done other things. So I remember one reporter asking me, so what's it like? You know, how do you feel winning a Tony Award? And I said, I've been an actor now for 15 years. So winning the Tony Award is kind of like winning the lottery, but I've been buying a lot of tickets. You know, 15 years worth of tickets. So it's like you put in the time, and sometimes things work out. But it was a wonderful experience. It's such a very Chicago play. Great Chicago actors were in it, like Jack Wallace, J.J. Johnston, Bill Peterson, who did the original one with me in Chicago before we took it to New York. So it was a wonderful. You know, it really catapulted my career to the next level from that point on.
Now, you were in Godfather 3. I mean, you've been in so many things. It's unbelievable. But out of all the things you've done, and of course, Criminal Minds, I mean, that just wrapped up 15 seasons, right?
Right.
I mean, all the things you've done, do you have a favorite role?
No, I don't have a favorite role, because it's just I've been very blessed, that, like I say, to be able to make a living, a pretty good living now, doing what I've liked doing since high school. So I feel very blessed that way, because not everybody can say that. You know, that their occupation gave them that kind of fulfillment. Like, this is what I've always wanted to do all my life, and I've done it for 50 years, you know, which I have. This is my, like I say, I've been a professional actor now for 51 years. So a favorite role is difficult. I mean, it's almost like it's the next one, you know, and the next one will be because the last one was such good. But there's been ones I've enjoyed. Playing Dean Martin, which I know your dad would have certainly, you know, would have fit right in there too. I know how much he idolized Dean, as we both did. And so playing that role was special to me, to do that. To do any of these things, like doing Godfather, being part of that show. As my friend Vinny Guastafaro told me when I got the role, he said, "Man, you're in the Italian Star Wars." I guess you could say that. So there's that. I mean, doing Criminal Minds was wonderful, but no one thing can I say it's going to be the next one. I mean, I've got a
Yeah,
pilot
yeah.
actually that I just did for Amazon that I'm very excited about because I love
Yeah.
the premise of it. It's a wonderful show, and hopefully we'll start shooting it sometime in the fall once things start to settle down. But you know, like I say, I love what I do, and there's that line: if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I guess I haven't worked much in the last 50 years. You know?
Lucky guy.
That's
Talented guy, though.
Yes, terrific. And Joe, I mean, going back kind of back to the music just a little bit more, and growing up in Chicago.
Right.
What do you remember about Dick Biondi, and what are your thoughts
the
about
Wild
Dick
Australian.
Biondi?
I
Just
remember Dick Biondi well. We would you know, we would play a lot of the like I said, we were a pretty popular group locally back then. I mean, we played all the clubs. There was places like called the Cellar, the Dark Spot, Holiday Ballroom, the Blue Village in Westmont.
Yeah.
There were a lot of teen nightclubs. Live music was very big in the late 60s.
Yeah.
Disco and all that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the DJs from the radio stations, from WLS, WCFL, they would host these dances, these sock hops, whatever you want to call them. And Biondi was one of them. You know, there was Jim Stagg, there's Clark Webber, there was a lot of disc jockeys from back then. But Biondi, we had a special affection for because all four of the guys in the band were Italian guys. So when you got a guy like Dick Biondi, who was such a character anyway, and I remember specifically we went down to the studio and we had some sort of meeting with him, or we were on the air, or whatever it was. I can't even remember. God, many years ago. But he was. You know, back then you sat in your room at night and you had your little transistor radio with the wire with the ear thing in, and you listen to the top 40, you know, and that's what you would do. Yeah. And those guys were, you know, they had incredible influence, I think, on young people at the time. Music was so powerful anyway, especially when you know, the Beatles came out in the 60s. That's when, you know, kind of when our band started right after that whole British invasion. And music just became, God, it was so important. I mean, obviously it still is, but it was so important to all of us at that age. And so the disc jockeys were major influences and important people. And Biondi, you can talk about, you know, they talk about the different disc jockeys today. I mean, how important they are. You know, Uncle Brucey in New York and Howard Stern, or wherever you're talking about disc jockeys who had an impact. Biondi was great, and he was good about him. He was just a regular guy. I mean, he was just a fun guy. There was no edge to it. There wasn't anything controversial about it or anything like that. It was the Wild Australian, Dick Biondi.
That's right.
That's right.
I mean, it was fun.
On top of a pizza.
Yeah, on top of a pizza. There you go.
Yeah, and there was Herb Kent, and the Cool Gent. I mean, there was he had a thing, you know, with the soul music.
Yes.
So Dick was right in there, and rightly so. Should be considered one of the greats of disc jockeys certainly in the United States. Absolutely.
That's awesome that you say that, and that's kind of what this film is all about, the Dick Biondi film documentary. And this brings me to my next question. What kind of music do you enjoy listening to? All kinds? Is there a specific band or group? What do you enjoy listening to?
I listen to a lot of eclectic things, and the things that we've been often said, that because people always say, "Hey, have you caught this new show on whatever it is on what Amazon or Netflix or what film?" And I often haven't seen it because I've always said this: if I had a choice between owning a television or owning radio, I'm going to choose the radio. I mean, I can't live without music, but I can live without TV and film, even though it's how I make my living. In other words, I'd rather film and make the stuff than watch it. Not that I don't enjoy it when I do, but it's not my go-to thing. I don't keep up on it. But I have the music playing all day long. I mean, I had to turn it off to do this with you guys. So I'll run the gamut. I mean, I'll listen to. My kids were brought up listening to 60s rock and 70s rock and all that. But yet, on the other hand, I love listening to soft jazz, a lot of that. I mean, Chris Bodie's station on Pandora is my current go-to kind of station. Jazz trumpet, old Miles Davis stuff, Coltrane, things like that. But on the other hand, I'll listen to some classical sometimes stuff. whatever it may be. Or I'll listen to ABBA. I'll even listen to some of those boy bands if I like some of the songs, or Michael Jackson, or whoever it may
Yeah.
be. Enya, it runs the gamut. If it strikes my ear and I like it, I'll say, "Who is that? What is that?" Spanish guitar music, whatever it may be. But obviously, I grew up with the music of the '60s, and then I made a movie called Queen's Logic, which was all about kind of guys who grew up in the music of the '70s, and a lot of that music was in the film. John Malkovich was in it with me, Kevin Bacon, Jamie Lee
sounds
Curtis.
good.
What a great cast! Tom Waits, and that movie, I think, in a way, exemplified that era and the kind of stuff we would listen to. But I still listen to that stuff today. I mean, I'll just whether it's like '60s rock and everything above it, but then, like I say, a lot of jazz. Even country. I got one, on my iPod. In fact, I used to play when I would do Criminal Minds. I would come in. It let me be the DJ because I was the oldest guy in the cast. It let me choose the music in the makeup trailer, and I would change it every day. I'd say, okay, today is going to be, Fridays with Frank, and we do Sinatra, But then I do country western day, and I play some of that stuff, or soul music. A lot of soul,
Nice.
the OJs and the Temptations and all that stuff. So, it runs the gamut.
We are so lucky because we have got a lot of these wonderful bands in our film about Dick. Because, Dick introduced all those guys, worked with all those guys. We've got the Eyes of March. We've got the band Chicago, Walter Perzader.
Walter's my dearest friend. I mean, he's the reason, my closest friend out of that group is Walter, because
Is it? Okay.
we stayed in touch over all these years.
Yeah. Super nice guy. I got to go to his house out in Las Vegas.
Right.
And ride the elevator up. Whoa, was that cool?
Sure.
And the whole place is lined with all these awards. Oh my God.
Oh, gold records all over the place.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I was at his daughter's wedding. I mean, he's a great guy. We hadn't seen each other in years. What was great was we ran into each other after not seeing each other because it's restarted the friendship. I probably hadn't seen him. We used to play with them a lot back in the late '60s. Then we lost touch. Of course, they went on to become Chicago. I went on to my career, and I think must have been the early '80s. We both happened to be at the LA Auto Show, and we're looking at a Thunderbird. We just figured like two Chicago guys would be looking at the Thunderbird. We're looking at the Thunderbird, and he's on the other side of the car, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "Joe Mantegna?" I go, "Walter Perzader?" And that started the friendship.
Oh,
that was
cool.
Probably maybe 85, 86, and we've been very close ever since.
Two Chicago boys made good.
Yeah, we always say that. We go, "Oh boy, how about that, huh?"
Isn't that something?
A bohunk from out there, an Italian guy from Cicero.
I tell you, it's always great because like when we were out there talking to Walter, and he was reminiscing, and he was just loving the fact that we were having our Chicago accents, and he was like talking about Chicago, and he was just going back, and I mean, I guess it's in your blood. Do you miss being living out in Chicago? Do you get out there much?
My wife was from there, obviously, as well. She's got two, she has a sister there, two brothers. I come in every year to do the Cub game. What's funny is I just got a call about doing, they're trying to find a way to still do maybe singing, because I usually throughout the first pitch sing the seventh at a game every year. Try to find out a way to do it with the coming season. Find a way to do that. So I still get in town. It's funny you say the thing about the accents. In fact, going back to that photo of Dennis, and the two Dennises and I said when I'd taken that photo standing between Dennis Franz and Dennis Farina, I said, those two guys made me sound like I was from London.
Oh my God.
You're going to talk about accents.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So it's kind of funny, but especially with Dennis Franz. I says he's the star of a show called NYPD Blue. I guess the rest of the world thinks guys from New York talk like this, and those three guys over there, Chicago. Once it's in you, it's in your blood. It's there's no. I always said nobody's going to cast me as a Swedish sea captain. They hear me 10 words come out of my mouth, and they kind of know. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll figure what's he's all about.
Well, guess what? Our time is up. Can you believe
All right.
it? This was so fun.
This was terrific.
Thank you so much for coming.
No,
and being
it's
with
my
us.
pleasure. It's special to be able to talk about like this Dick Biondi and that whole thing and music.
Yeah.
Just Chicago in general, and you and the son of one of the men I love so dearly.
Joe.
You know, like it just means a lot to me. It's my pleasure, really my pleasure.
Joe, I can't, personally, I can't thank you enough for doing this. And I know you and my dad go a long way back. You and I have stayed in touch, and, you know, always just to stand up, just a great guy. And Pamela and I really appreciate you being on the show with us. And thank you for all of your kind words and support, not only for the film, but also for my dad. And it means a lot. Thank you.
No, he was a special human being, and you know, I think of him all the time. He lives in my heart. One of my best friends in the world.
Thank you. And I know he had he felt the same about you, Joe. So thank you. And I have to get going. But
right.
before I go, I want to tell everybody to check out dickbiondifilm.com. Please like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group, and ladies and gentlemen, Pam, everybody out there, thank you again to Joe for coming on our show. And everybody, take care, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks you.
So
Thanks,
much,
Joe. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Joe, again, I'm just going to say thank you, and don't run away because you and I are going to talk, but I'm going to say goodbye to everybody that's been watching. Thank you so much, and please be safe. Please wear your masks. This is not a joke. We need to protect each other, okay? So, love to everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.